We've qualified for the World Cup. Go and compete.
Hello and welcome to the 8th edition of the Put 'em Under Pressure podcast. My name is Kieran and I'm joined by Adrian.
Hello.
Connor.
Hi.
And a very, very special guest. Cue the John Cena music. It's Dave.
You can hear me, but you can't see me.
Nice.
Hey everyone, how are we doing?
Correct, Dave.
I'm
Yeah.
pretty good. How are you all keeping?
Well,
Doing great.
all things considered.
It just took a global pandemic for me to come back.
You only
here.
talk the big ones.
Yeah, the global pandemic special edition podcast.
That's it. The episode number 8, the stay at home edition.
I love it.
Very good.
Yeah. And I guess just disclaimer before we begin and kick things off. We're in very different circumstances than we usually record in. The four of us are recording remotely using Zoom, so expect audio issues and expect a bit of choppiness. But what we'd like to bring you today, away from all of the seriousness of what's going on in the world right now, a little bit of nonsense that we've grown to love. So thanks very much for listening. I suppose we'll start on you, Dave. You've been gone so long. It's lovely to have you back. So fill us in. How's things going?
So I moved to Canada, as you guys probably addressed before, and it's pretty awesome. Canada's a great country. Stuff works. People are nice. And the best thing about Canada is the Premier League starts at 7 a.m. So you can get up at like 7, make your breakfast, and watch all the games, and you're done by like 2 o'clock.
Yeah, I see those pictures
amazing.
Post on the coverage, like the pundits, they post like, send us your breakfast Premier League pictures, and it's like people with stacks of pancakes saying, "Oh, got up at 5 a.m. to watch Burnley. Come on, you Burnley." And it's like, fucking hell. I couldn't imagine it, but it's dedication. They're not plastics.
It's awesome. Because I remember like when we used to do this, like it was fun watching all the football, but it got tiring when like it got to like 4:30 on a Sunday and you're like, oh, I gotta watch Middlesbrough and West Brom. You know what I mean? Whereas like it's done and it's all out of the way by 2 o'clock. It's awesome. Best thing about Canada.
That's why we don't research anymore, because we just couldn't hack it.
No. We used to do 30-second reviews.
Oh God.
Watford Burnley, and it's what can you really say if it's 0-0? But yeah.
Is football as big a thing over there? Maybe not as big a thing, but is it still like? Is it watched much?
It is, yeah, because they launched the Zone this year. Like terrible timing to launch a streaming channel for football, because I think everyone is just unsubscribing in the last 2 weeks because there's no football. But even like small things, you walk around on the streets and you see a lot of jerseys, and like I've played like 5-a-side leagues and there's loads of people in it. So soccer is pretty big over here. And like even like one of the best left backs in the world is Alphonso Davies for like Bayern Munich.
Oh, yeah.
So
yeah,
it's getting bigger. It definitely is. And like I think it's much bigger than like basketball in like the UK and Ireland, but it feels kind of like that. It's like the second or third sport to a lot of people. But no, I'm surprised how many people actually play it, to be honest, and watch it. So,
have you played any ice hockey?
I haven't played any ice hockey. I went to a game and that was pretty cool. Like that looks like an incredibly hard sport to play. Like just the hand-eye coordination, like the skating, getting like pushed into like plexiglass every 2 minutes, like the subbing in and out. It was pretty cool to see live, and I have a new appreciation of it. Like I'm not a fan of it, but watching it live makes you think, Jesus, that is a really hard sport to play.
It scares the shit out of me seeing them going really fast around the ring with ice skates and be like, man, if they fell over, their fingers get sliced off, and it's pretty scary.
There is that famous video where it's like I think the player did it deliberately, but he uses the blade on your man's Achilles, and you just see it like rip through his socks. Like it's pretty horrific.
Oh, in like the NFL or NHL.
Yeah, well, I think so.
Jesus.
I mean, I only saw it on like YouTube. I don't know what the team was, but yeah, it's pretty graphic and it's definitely deliberate. And it's like,
fucked up.
you know, you have like an area of your body where it's like, you know, like you're sensitive or on like your elbow or something. Mine is definitely my Achilles. Like just the feeling of like even touching there makes me kind of squeamish. But just the like ankle just split open was pretty grim.
Yeah, it's a crazy sport to see live. Really is a weird, like it's a crazy sport to see live. It feels like if Pep Guardiola like made up a sport because of like the coordination between attack and defense and stuff. It's yeah, it's cool. I would recommend going to see a hockey game, to be honest.
Cool. I wanted to ask as well, because you've been out of the podcast for a while, but you've been, you know, our number one listener, because we only have 2 listeners. But
Shout out Ian.
How have you found being on the other side of the microphone, I guess?
I really look well. You're my friends anyway, so I like just listening to you guys anyway. But you know, there is times when I'm listening to it in work and I hear something and I'm like, oh, I'd love to like completely counterpoint what they're saying, like the Man United stuff. I think you're way too harsh on United, but no, I mean I enjoy it. You're my friends.
We intentionally go hard on United.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fair. But no, I enjoy it. I'm listening to it. I've actually probably stopped watching football a lot. Like I'm not watching football as much. Like I still watch like Champions League and all the big Premier League games, but I felt when I was doing it, I'd get a hard on to watch like Watford and Middlesbrough. Whereas now it's like you couldn't pay me to sit down and watch Southampton and Norwich. You know what I mean? I'm just not doing that.
Now I'd kill for Southampton Norwich right now.
Oh
Yeah.
my god.
Yeah.
I guess that
Lots
kind of
of
moves
times.
us on to point number 1. I guess we have to address it. Is, you know, the massive situation that's happening, and obviously this has like a global impact on people's lives and people's day to day. But you know, as we're a Premier League podcast, it's had massive problems, I guess, for games. I guess it all kicked off around, was it, I think, the 12th of March, where Mikel Arteta was confirmed to have the coronavirus, and things kind of just spiraled real quick. It's worrying times, isn't it?
Well, yeah, I think it's when Serie A shut down that I was like, okay, there's a good chance the other leagues are going to get shut down now because of that. That was when that happened, I was like, oh shit, this is actually something really serious.
Was the Liverpool and Atletico Champions League game before or after Serie A shut down?
It was right after, I think. I think it was like it might have been like the day before. Actually, it was right on it, I think.
Yeah, because before, to me, it was only a small thing. It was when Klopp was coming out onto the pitch against Atletico, and like people were trying to shake his hand, and he was telling him to like piss off, basically. I was like, okay, shit. I never thought of it like that, but maybe this shouldn't be happening.
That was a big problem because they had however many thousand Spanish fans like flying into England, and like Spain was really badly hit before England, obviously, and it's still worse. But there was a lot of worry, I think, around the Liverpool fans that there was going to be fucking, I don't know, was it like 6,000 Atletico fans or something flew into Liverpool? So I think in hindsight, maybe that shouldn't have happened, you know?
I mean, there was probably more risk of the 6,000 Spanish fans catching something off Scousers, but anyway.
But it happened so quickly, like.
Yeah, I don't know.
It just, because I was in Mexico like the week all of this, the mood of all this completely changed, and I felt, because when we left on Sunday to go to Mexico, like the airport was fine, completely normal, and then by the time we got back the following Sunday, like if someone coughed, like people ran like 20 feet away and stuff. Like it just feels like the mood around all of this completely changed in the space of a week. So I don't know. I get why that Champions League game went ahead, but in hindsight, it shouldn't have. Like Cheltenham shouldn't have gone ahead, you know?
That was so stupid.
Cheltenham was the worst. That was tick. You're all tickos.
So with the situation happening now currently, I mean, one of the first things I guess that was pushed back was the oh my god, what's the name of it? The European Championships in the summer. They've been postponed to the following year, and there was kind of knock-ons from there. Then every league then shut up shop. The only league that still seems to be playing is the Belarusian Premier League. So we're all fans of Dynamo Minsk now, aren't we?
I did not know that.
Yeah, it's strange. Yeah, they're
Do you
still
play
playing.
some bets on them and stuff?
No, I'm just seeing like people posting up streams for the game, and it's like, oh man. It's
Are they
desperate.
not hit? Do they not have a case of it or something, or why?
I'm literally Googling it right now.
Oh,
I
that's
think
it.
it's
That's
yeah.
So
Say that again?
on Google, I'm literally Googling it right now, and the top story on Google is Belarus becomes the only country not taking measures against COVID-19. There's no lockdown in Belarus. It's just like people don't give a shit in Belarus, basically.
but Belarusians.
Belarusians?
That's
Yeah.
Belarusians. Is that right?
I think so.
Or like Belens.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah. I mean, the Euros. Does anyone give a shit about the Euros going back a year?
No.
Nah.
Not really. You're still
I-
calling it Euro 2020 as well next year.
Hmm.
Idiots.
Yeah.
It just seems like
anything.
it's
Sorry.
no. It just seems like it's a good chance for like injured players to get back fit and do it. Basically, it's a win-win from what I can see.
And I think for Ireland it could be a good thing because we're at this weird point where people want to see the young players come in and they want some of the older players to go. So maybe an extra year Adam Ida might be playing up top instead of McGoldrick.
Mick
what
McCarthy is going to be out of contract, isn't he?
That's another
Yeah.
thing as well, yeah.
That's the weird one.
Mm.
That's one of the big situations and talking points now is that if the season is postponed and moved back but still completed, is that the crossover will be players will technically be out of contract.
Yeah.
So there'll have to be these really short-term deals for players just to complete the season, and you just know that there's going to be some want-away players that aren't going to sign a short-term contract. So there'll be all of this weirdness if we ever get back up and running.
Do you know one thing that's kind of annoying me about all of this? And it's mostly because it's Sky Sports and they're just trying to create content. But like Gary Neville going on Twitter every day, like saying that, oh, we should just have a festival of football and everything should be done in a month. And we don't care about the players and that they might all tear their hamstrings like week 2 into week 6 of the festival of football, whatever they want to call it. This is it just annoys me that like he's a really smart guy, but he just wants, it's like he's not using his brain when he's thinking about this. You know what I mean?
I do. What I would say, maybe I'm a bit biased, but I do think he is looking for any way to get the season finished, and I think that's his point. Is that you're, what is it, 3/4, 2/3 of the way through the season? Like it should be finished. 3/4 of the way through the season. There's so much at stake for clubs being promoted, and Liverpool obviously, and even the likes of if Man City don't get the Champions League, like there's teams that could get into the Champions League for the first time. Sheffield Wednesday are still in the running, aren't they?
Yeah, that's one of the talking points that
And
I think
Wolves.
Villa and Sheffield United have a game in hand.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
But if
like
this-
they're
yeah.
It's too big for too many clubs, I think, to call it null and void. I totally understand that the easiest thing in a weird roundabout way would just be to scrap the whole thing. But I just think there's too much at stake for too many teams.
I'd say the opposite. There's more at stake to actually play it because teams could get relegated. The teams that are in the Champions League spots now, I would assume, would be the teams they put forward for the Champions League. Like there's 7 or 8 teams in the relegation battle. So I don't know.
I only think that this is a debate because Liverpool are 25 points clear. If this was a close run-in, people would be like, no, we have to see it out. It's the fact that, yes, the Premier League title is all but won. Are people being like, Oh no, we can just call it quits here. I personally think that the season has to continue. I feel it has to complete, and if that takes 3 years to do, then fine. What do you guys think?
3 years.
Well,
That sounds a bit much, to be honest. But I think it. I think it
Exaggeration.
will be ended up getting voided. I think. I don't think they'll
What do
play
you
it
think?
out.
What do you think should happen, though? Is that what you think should
mm,
happen?
Well, if there's time, it depends on how long this lasts. If it lasts for another 2 months, they probably could fit it in somewhere. Maybe 5 games at the start or something, and 5 games during international breaks somewhere along the line. But if this goes on until July or August, then I don't think it should happen. I don't think they should play them.
But there's so much to it as well. Like, okay, you finish off the Premier League. What about the FA Cup? Are they going to play that? How does that fit in? The Champions League, UEFA want to rattle that off. Like, where are they going to fit that in? Again, what you said about contracts, like they all finish on June the 30th. Can you give people like a 1 month, 2 month contract? I don't know if that's a thing you can do. Injuries for players. I think if you get all these players to play like 2-3 games a week, because there'll be Champions League games, so some players will have to do that. They're all just going to like tear their hamstrings and do their cruciates, and then go into next season. You see clubs that have lost their best players, like Aubameyang, for example.
Yep.
Just say, for example, Arsenal. I don't want to Arsenal bash into my return, but they're not really going anywhere. If you're being honest about it, like they're not.
They're making their way up the table.
Okay, they're getting somewhere. But just say,
They
for
were like
example,
3 points off Champions League places, or 4 with a game in hand.
but let's just say
Just saying.
Arsenal played however many games, and he does his cruciate. Would you have rather he played those a couple of games toward the end, or that he's fresh and fit going into next season?
Well,
There's so much to it. I don't know.
Aubameyang's only got like a year and a bit left on his contract, so he was probably getting sold in the summer anyway. So,
But you could, apply it to maybe Crystal Palace for Zaha. He does his cruciate into the second game of this, and then he's out for all the next season as well. I think there's so much to it that I don't know. I'm with Flynn. I could see it being voided. Like, I don't care if Liverpool win the league, but I could see it being voided.
yeah, I think, and this is the thing that's probably siding with what the two of you have just said, is that UEFA and FIFA predict that if the season could commence following April 30th, which is only 1 month away now at this point in time,
oh shit.
they could have all competitions wrapped up in all countries within 9 weeks, which seems like a very short period of time. There's 10 Premier League games, there's 8 FA Cup games, and then there's probably going to be a shortened European and Champions League fixture list. So in theory, it can be done, but if on the 1st of May everything is fine and football commences again, players haven't played for months. They're going to have to have a mini preseason. They can't just run straight back on the pitch and not perform or perform in the same way as before. It's impossible.
And again, it could lead to injuries for those players. And another thing I just literally thought of there was in London, for example, they space out the games so that there isn't so much kind of pressure on the subways and the metros and transport and all of this. If you're just playing games every second day for 6 weeks, could you imagine what London's going to be? London's going to be like in that period of time? Can that feasibly be done as well?
It's true.
I don't know.
Did you guys see what the UEFA president said today? I think. So I'm just going to read out the quote. If it's shit, just cut it. Whatever. But he basically said nobody knows when nobody knows when the pandemic will end. We have a plan A, B, or C to restart in mid-May, in June, or at the end of June. If then we wouldn't be able to do any of these, the season would probably be lost. There's also the possibility of ending this season at the start of the next, which would then be postponed and starting at a later date. So that gives me the impression that they're basically going to do anything they can to not null and void all these seasons, basically. Because again, I am biased, and I'd love to just see them finish out the fucking season. I think, for me, it's 50-50 what will happen. I would love if they did finish it out, obviously. But I think I don't know what will happen. but I think there's a way to getting it done. And I don't think it'll be ready to go for the start of May, but I think probably the end of May.
I have
I
a
think-
question for you, Hanley. If the
Shoot.
season gets voided, should they give Liverpool the title?
Yeah.
No, probably not.
Yeah.
Well, even
Because-
if they did, there would be a big asterisk next to it, and people would just be like, you didn't actually win it.
That's
Yeah.
the thing. It wouldn't. Yeah, I don't know. I think this happened in another league in Europe somewhere. Someone might know about 10 years ago, and they did give it to whoever was top of the league. Just doesn't feel right, really, does it?
Well, Inter still celebrate the leagues they got from Juventus when they got relegated for
Oh.
match fixing. And they were like, yeah.
But they're like mocked for it. So, like, yeah, technically they're now winners of it. But yeah,
I think it probably would be awarded, but I don't think it would be very well celebrated.
No.
I think if you have to award it, you have to relegate the three teams too. I don't think you can just do one of them. I don't think you can just give Liverpool the title and then say, well, all the other leagues stay as they are. Because I think that's the harder decision. Is you need to what it is.
Remember a month ago when we were saying that, this Liverpool team is possibly the greatest team of all time, and then they got knocked out of the Champions League, they got knocked out of the FA Cup, and now coronavirus is like stopping them from winning the league.
Amazing.
I know.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
So, as we were, Dave, you would have been on the other side of the microphone, as we previously said, where you would have heard quite a lot of United bashing. And by United bashing, really and truly, it's about half of every podcast we've recorded so far. There's probably a lot of opinions you've disagreed with. So we'd like to give you the opportunity to defend those, and maybe we can discuss them. So I'll pass the mic to yourself.
Well, to start off with, I want to say that I think Ole Gunnar's actually done a pretty good job overall. Because genuinely, if you look at where United were when he first took over to where they are now, like, I hated watching United towards the end of the Mourinho stuff. It was terrible to watch. All the players hated playing for him. There was a lot of players that were on huge money and were terrible. Sanchez, Lukaku, Young, Paul Pogba was playing every week and he was being useless. Fred was useless and he's turned into a much better player now. Like, just the simple fact that United fans actually like watching United and are positive. United fans would rather watch Igalo and Fred and McTominay than like Pogba, Lukaku and Sanchez. What a turnaround that has been. There's a way more of a positive atmosphere around the place. He's brought in guys like Brandon Williams, Rashford has gotten better, Martial has gotten better, Fred has gotten better, McTominay has gotten better. Even the signings he brought in, nearly every signing Mourinho made was a flop when you think about it.
Do you think Maguire is not a flop?
I think he's been really good. And I think he's made Lindelof play much better as well. I think Bissaka's been a good signing. Igalo has been a good signing. It's incredible. Now, I'm not saying on the pitch, I think tactically he's been found out a bit, 100%. But I think the simple fact he got rid of a lot of the players people didn't want, like Young and Sanchez and Lukaku, Smalling.
Well, they're all playing great in Italy.
Yeah, but come on. Like, what the hell is Italy, really? I mean, Ronaldo's still scoring goals in Italy. Is it actually a good league? I don't know. I think he's been really good. The football hasn't been great, but I don't think it's been that bad. And he's gotten the most out of Rashford and Martial, which Mourinho couldn't do. And that's not Mourinho bashing, because I think he was actually treated pretty unfairly towards the end. But
by the
he's
fans?
done well. No, by the board and the fans.
Oh.
And funnily enough, like, you'll defend Arsenal to the death. They're in a much worse situation than United are.
I don't think so.
100%. Much worse place than United are.
Okay, well.
Personally.
Disagree.
I think the only bright spark I can think for Arsenal is Martinelli. Other than that, like,
if this season finishes, Arsenal will finish ahead of United.
Nah, that ain't happening.
Well, we may never find out.
We may never find out. But no, I think overall, I think he's actually done a pretty good job. He had a massive job to even just try make a squad that functions and works out of the massive mess that was there before him, and I think he's done pretty well, to be honest. So
Okay.
you guys probably don't agree, but
No, I think he spent like 200 million on really shit players, and they're no better than they were under Mourinho. But I mean, that's what I think.
they're definitely better than what they were in the Mourinho.
I think for fans, it's like you say, it's much more positive.
But okay, like fair enough, you're slating United, but do you think really Arsenal are much better than what they were at the start of the season under Emery?
Better than under Emery. Yeah.
At the start of the season, going into the season, do you think Arsenal are in a better situation now than what they were then?
Going into the season,
Going into this season, we had high
No.
hopes for Pepe, we had high hopes basically for all the sides they made, and I think it's been a complete disaster.
it's been bad, but I definitely going into the season thought it was going to be way better. And
Yeah, I was higher on it than you.
really,
Definitely.
really, really shit. I mean, probably their worst run. I think statistically their worst run of since 1970 something, because from October to like February they won like 3 games, which it's unbelievable. But they have so many draws in the league. These draws that happen. I think only like Liverpool and City had lost less games than them, but only like the relegation teams has won less games than them, if you know what I mean. So like they just drew like 20 games or something. Sickening. They could have gone either way. Anyway, I'd never want to see Unai Emery's face ever again.
But there's been a lot of turmoil with Arsenal in general anyway. Like, there was all the stuff with Xhaka when he wanted to leave and he's being booed off the pitch. I remember that game
Yeah.
against Crystal Palace. That just seemed like the place was on fire and it was just going to burn down.
It's fucking-
The only way was up, really.
Like Pepe, I thought he was going to be fun at the start of the season. He has been a complete flop.
No, he hasn't.
For 70 million signing.
For 70 million. I didn't want him for 70 million. I thought that was stupid. 70 million for a winger. But anyway, we have him.
Yeah.
Not much you can do now. I don't think he's been a flop because he plays pretty well, but not 70 million.
What do you guys think, Kieran and Andy?
As in, who's had the worst season, or
Yeah, like who do we won't even say worse because like the season could be done. But who do you think has the brighter future, United or Arsenal?
Oh, okay. Well, I think you've both been disappointing. So I think it's comparing two poor things. Who has a brighter future? I think United. I think United just have a better foundation, to be honest. But then Arsenal are a team that are, I guess, less consistent but more electric than United have been historically. So there's also that side of things too.
Well, United are financially bulletproof, so it doesn't matter if they get relegated. They'll just spend 200 million every season, and it doesn't matter. But Arsenal, if they stay out of the Champions League and Europa League, which could happen this season, if it ever gets played, could happen, then they could be in big trouble financially.
What I was going to say was I would probably prefer to be an Arsenal fan right now than a United fan, because Arteta, I think, could be really good. I think Arteta could be class, actually. And like Flynn said, Arsenal are way, way better since he took over. And I don't see that with Solskjaer. I think he's signed pretty good players. I think he's done pretty good business.
Who?
Like all of Solskjaer.
No, who's been good business for them?
I think everyone he's brought in has done a pretty good job. Like James, Maguire.
James has not been.
James
James scored like 2 goals in September.
For 15 million, and he's what, 21, something like that?
Yeah, I think to be fair. Compared to 70 million for Pepe.
And Maguire, Wan-Bissaka, I think they've all been pretty good. And even Igalo.
Bruno Fernandes. He's lighting up the Premier League before all this happened.
But I don't think Ollie is going to get them back to the Champions League. I don't think he's going to win them anything. I don't think they'll win anything under him.
And that's the big point. That's the big point with United. I think United fans appreciate what he's done, but I don't think anyone really thinks he's going to be the guy to bring them back to where they were. I think
And
he's
that's what,
good for the transition, but
and that's why I'd rather be an Arsenal fan.
that's fair. So that was my big gripe, hearing guys just bash United and just pretending like Arsenal or everything's like everything's fine in the Rose Garden of Arsenal, but
I think you will-
We've been bashing Arsenal every week on the podcast.
not as bad as United, to be fair.
Well, yeah.
We shat all over United at the start of the season and whenever they played badly. And whenever they played well, we didn't mention them.
That's what it felt like listening.
Yeah, that
100%.
was a conscious effort, don't worry.
Yeah. The other thing was the Henderson and De Bruyne debate.
Will we ever get rid of this fucking thing?
That
We
thing,
did. I
it
thought
felt
Oh
like
I
my
settled it.
god. Imagine if there's no more football played and we'll have to argue about this for 50 years.
because you were all kind of right and you were all kind of wrong, I think.
I can't even remember what my opinion was on it at this point.
You were kind of mostly right, Flynn, but to me, I thought. So, like, they're both not deep-lying playmakers, like, at all. That's the first thing I would say. Like, they're not. Henderson is like a box-to-box, break up the midfield kind of player, and De Bruyne is actually like David Beckham if he was a central midfielder, basically just doing everything, scoring goals, assists, all of that. So I just, like, again, it is kind of comparing apples and oranges, I thought. But, like, Kevin De Bruyne is miles ahead of Jordan Henderson. It's incomparable.
I have one more fact. One more fact.
Fucking list out.
I fucking knew this would happen. I knew I saved this for a reason. This is this backwards for you guys? You can cut this if you want. That's backwards, isn't it?
No, we can see that.
Oh, I can see it, yeah.
Yeah,
Can you see
it.
Henderson and De Bruyne there? Just
Yeah.
about.
Yeah,
It
same
gives
position.
their average points since the turn of the year, and like statistically their average performance points, not like their points per game. And Henderson gets his average point is 7.76 per game, and De Bruyne gets 7.67.
So is that fantasy points or like match ratings? I don't understand.
It's like match ratings.
Name out the list, just out of interest.
Give me a sec.
Yeah.
Okay. Lloris, Pereira, Mustafi, Van Dijk, and Azpilicueta.
Fucking
Well,
list is this?
It's players must have played a minimum of 5 games. So Mustafi probably played like 5 games against nobodies.
You know, Mustafi has surprisingly been quite good. At least he was on a good run after the Chelsea game when he got David Luiz sent off.
The midfield is Fernandes, Henderson, and De Bruyne. And up front is Salah, Richarlison, and I don't know how to say it. Saint-Maximin. You know the Newcastle cunt. Yeah.
If that guy is one of the best players in the Premier League, that list is wrong.
7.4.
Lloris in goal when Spurs have had one of the shittest seasons at the back.
Yeah.
And he broke his arms falling down.
Which is like, you're a keeper. How do you break your arm by falling?
Yeah.
Yeah. But Henderson's had a better season than De Bruyne, anyway, to be fair.
No, he hasn't. That is not true at all.
Based on what goals scored, Dave, is it? Did you even listen to the last episode?
De Bruyne, like, I think could honestly go down as one of the best Premier League players ever. He's incredible.
He's amazing.
And
I agree.
Your first stat in favour of Henderson was games won.
It's all that counts. It's all that counts. But no, I'm not saying De Bruyne is a worse player than Henderson. I'm saying everything. This all came about because people were saying it was ridiculous that Henderson was up for Player of the Year. It's not ridiculous.
It kind of was.
And we've seen how important he is to Liverpool when he's not playing.
No, that's wrong as well, I think, because Liverpool also had a dip this time last year as well. They historically always have a dip around this time of year. So that I don't think that had anything to do with Henderson.
Yeah, they love a dip.
I think that's just Liverpool just dip because they play really like tough, exhausting football. And then at this time of year, they usually dip anyway. So I think even if he was playing, like, he wouldn't have made a difference in that Atletico game.
He played that game, I think.
Oh, he did well. There you go.
It's different.
Yeah, there you go. Proven.
Yeah, I don't know. But
Look,
yeah,
I'm just being honest, you know.
that debate like confused me listening to it. Oh, then there was another one you had about Sir Alex Ferguson wasn't that good a manager.
Did we say that?
I was listening to it like,
Probably.
yeah, Kieran, you were like at one stage, well, what did he really do? I was like, I don't know. He's the most successful manager of all time. Build like 7 or 8 championship winning teams. Like,
It's good to know that.
Only 2 European Cups.
Yeah, that's it.
oh, that's all.
Amateur.
Well, that's underachieving, really, if he's the greatest manager of all time, isn't it?
How many does Guardiola have?
He's got 2, I think.
2.
Who was
One?
well, has he won?
No, he's got
Oh, no,
3.
he's 2. He has 2, yeah.
Mourinho is 3.
Yeah.
No, he's 2.
So would you say Mourinho and Zidane are better than Ferguson?
Yep.
No, but they, Zidane may be better than Ferguson one day.
Maybe, I don't know, but that was just mind-boggling listening to it.
Well, most of these things that we say are unchecked and pretty much trying to wind up the people that we know are listening, and I think that's worked. So I'll take that away.
Yeah. That's a good point. Other than that, I've just enjoyed the conversations.
I rate Guardiola higher than Ferguson, to be honest.
Oh wow, hot take.
Yeah.
I think Guardiola could be a better manager when it's all said and done. But like, you can't overlook what Sir Alex Ferguson did for like 20 years.
That's true, but
Break the rules.
it's getting to the point where all he has is longevity soon.
Well,
That's
he
the only thing,
He built loads of championship teams. He played good football. He brought through young players.
Well, yeah, you can say that about Guardiola.
Who did he bring through?
Busquets, bunch of fellas at Barca.
Who has he brought through from City, really, when you think about it?
Raheem Sterling. No.
Phil Foden.
Zinchenko.
Yeah.
No, that Ferguson slander stuck out. I was just at work, just mind-boggling.
Fuming.
What are you guys talking about? And other than that, no, I agree with most stuff you're saying. I do have a general question to all of you.
Okay.
I'll start off with Hanley, but are Liverpool the most boring, dominant team in Premier League history?
No.
I just because I'll be honest, right? What is like the memorable Liverpool game this season that you're like, oh wow, that was incredible watching them, or like what's their amazing goal that they scored?
I think. Did you watch them against City?
That game, yeah, was incredible.
Okay, so there goes your point anyway. Straight
There
away.
was one game where they were fun to watch. Other than that, it's just loads of crosses into the box, and then Mane smashes one in for like 2 yards, and it bounces off a defender's like calf muscle or something.
I kind of feel that way about City.
38 games.
To be honest, I feel like City. Every single goal is them
Cutting
running it
back.
right down to the touch and cutting it back and a tap in.
Yeah,
I don't feel that about Liverpool. Do you?
I find City's football, when they were good, like obviously the 2 previous seasons, far more entertaining than Liverpool this year. I think
No.
Liverpool are hard to watch, to be honest.
No, I mean, what I will accept is that Liverpool, I think, manage games really well. And that I know that sounds like I'm calling them boring, but I think they know when to turn it on and when to like have 10 minutes of just nothing.
Yeah.
So like there have been games, I think against Southampton or someone like that, it was like 2-1 or 3-1, and for the last half hour basically nothing happened.
But they had a lot of 2-1 wins at the start of the season. I remember they had that 1-0 win against Sheffield United. I don't know, I just, because they're on the zone a lot. They're the feature game on the zone every weekend. So basically how it works on the zone is they have like the goal rush, and then the main game is Liverpool, and then they switch to the other games and show the goals of them. And you're just sitting down watching them and like, oh, Alexander-Arnold throws in a cross, hit it away. Henderson gives it out wide, goes to Robertson, crosses it in, hit it away. Van Dijk plays a long ball up to the defender, heads it down, it lands to Mane, he scores. And it's just kind of like, oh, it's boring.
You don't like you don't like seeing goals a lot. It sounds like.
No, I don't know. What do you guys think? What do Flynn, Kieran think?
Well, I definitely preferred watching City maybe past 2 seasons, and even at times this season. But I don't think Liverpool are boring, and definitely not the most boring team in the Premier League.
Well, like dominant team, so a team that's like steamrolled through everyone. But
I
I
don't
was
know.
saying at one point that when City are on, they're better than Liverpool when they're on, but they're
Yeah.
not on as much.
yeah, I would agree with that too. Yeah.
I agree with that. Yeah.
What
What
do you think,
about
Kieran?
the what? Oh yeah, go Kieran. Forget me.
I think the main thing that sticks out for me is I think it was Conte's Chelsea, or that there was that year that they won the league at a bit of a canter, not the Mourinho years or anything, but I remember it just being so dull. I think they actually won the league against Palace from like a Hazard 1-0 penalty, and that was pretty much their whole season. So they were a dominant team that I found were extremely boring.
That's a good show. Yeah.
And with Liverpool, I don't know whether it's just a bit of bias, but I've enjoyed them every time I've watched them this year, probably because of fantasy football, though, because so much invested in that you kind of just want to see someone getting on the end of a cross or score a goal. So I found them entertaining, personally.
Do you go? Well, this is probably more of a question for Hanley. Do you think the reason Liverpool got knocked out of the Champions League is because their midfield, like, slash, they don't have like a number 10 kind of costume? Because their midfield really isn't creative at all. Maybe that's just me.
I don't think that's why they got knocked out, though.
Yeah.
No, like I think they could have won the game at Anfield, and probably should have. I don't think it's because they didn't create chances. Like, I mean, I forget the stats now, but if you look at was it the Atletico game? They had tons of shots, or was it the home game? Maybe they had over 20 shots or something on goal. So they are creative, but like I said, they're creative. I've said before, they're creative from their fullbacks rather than through the midfield. This is what people don't get. The midfield does a different job.
No, I get it.
I feel like I'm fucking repeating myself.
No, I get it, and I do like Henderson as well. I think he gets too much slack, because he was underrated for so long, and now I think he's kind of overrated. But I still think he's good.
Okay.
But when I do watch Liverpool, I do think they lack like some bit of creativity in midfield.
Do you not think Chamberlain can be that kind of player?
He's a little bit, but I still don't think he's going to pick a pass, to be honest.
Okay. Yeah.
I think that Firmino is that role. He's supposed to drop deep, and if he doesn't link up play, or if he's not like on the top of his game, I think Liverpool struggle, and I think that's what happened over the 2 legs against Atletico. Because you forget how much that tactic that Klopp has relies on, obviously the wing backs, but on Firmino. And it's kind of funny to think that you'd say he goes missing in a lot of games, but because you view him as a traditional number 9, but what he's actually doing is dropping back to nearly as deep as like Henderson is for most games. So that's what I think cost them out those 2 legs, was perhaps that not clicking as much as it had done in the past.
I think the goalkeepers really decided that last game anyway.
Yeah, that's true.
Simple as.
What an unfortunate name, Adrian?
Oh my God! Like, because I was watching that game with a stream that had like comments on the side, and I just looked at one stage, and it was like, "Adrian is a cunt. Fuck Adrian. Like, Adrian can go shit himself and die." And I was like, "Whoa!" Like, really hit me hard.
Can I just make a point on Adrian, though? At the start of the season, every Liverpool fan was like, "We have the best number 2 in the league. No one is going to score any goals with us. Adrian is a great goalkeeper." He plays like one bad game, and now everyone is like, "Get him out. He's the new Karius."
Yeah.
I just think it's a bit harsh.
It's fickle. It is. I'll say that. He's not that bad, but he's not good enough to play a Champions League quarterfinal knockout. What was it?
But no, most goalkeepers, second goalkeepers aren't. You know, I thought that was all a bit harsh on him. But.
Yeah, I think he's been unlucky to be dropped in that. And even playing like the Super Cup, that guy should never be playing fucking Club World Cup or the Super Cup.
No.
United probably have the best number 2 in the league.
Romero's really good. I always am kind of astounded he's still at United.
Way too good to be sitting on the bench for, what is it, like 8 years now or more?
Yeah. And if you want to hear my hot take on United, David Hay should be sold and Henderson should be made United's number 1 next season. But
Yeah,
I'd go for that.
a lot would agree with you. You
Yeah.
can cash in on De Gea. Madrid want him, and they'll pay a lot for him. So why not?
Did they want them still when they bought Courtois?
Oh,
Courtois been like a flop.
yeah, he might be going out as well.
Went
To
to
look in.
Not my problem.
They're all my hot takes and musics from the season, really. I think generally it's been a boring season, to be honest. It started out kind of interesting with Leicester, but I think as it went on towards Christmas and after Christmas, I've just found it really hard to get interested in anything, to be honest.
It was a foregone conclusion until it wasn't.
Mm.
Yeah, pretty much. Oh, I've one more thing, actually. And this is kind of a thing that kind of generally annoys me about football journalism in general. Is that, like, all these, like, journos that, like, write in The Athletic and stuff, like, jerking themselves off to, like, Norwich playing high-pressing football and losing, like, 3-0. But, like, Jose Mourinho is a dinosaur because he plays defensive football. What do you guys think of that kind of trend? That, like, if you play defensive football, you should be sacked, and, like, we need to, like, love, like, teams like Norwich who, like, lose pressing like idiots? I don't know.
I think it's a hangover from maybe 80s and 90s when defensive football was all you had, when it was the Italians and Italians were on top and Italian national team was on top, and it was defensive football all day, every day. So when you have an attacking team, it's like, oh my God, thank God someone's actually playing football here instead of, parking the bus. So I don't mind.
I don't think I don't think Mourinho's tactics sell papers or get clicks, article clicks. I think that's the thing too, is that people want to read about Sheffield United's inverted centre backs rather than Harry Winks being shite. So
Yeah.
I think that's another thing too. I think we often take the opinion of people that work for the Athletic or for Sky Sports and assume because they're the experts on it that's the in thing. But I'm sure if you asked Norwich fans whether they'd prefer this season to play like Mourinho's Spurs as opposed to their fancy tactics that they're playing now, one's going to get them Premier League football next year and the other is going to get them finishing rock bottom but looking very good. I think I know what one I would take, but I also know which one I'd read about. So
That's a good point.
yeah,
Like I think that kind of old style defensive football goes under the radar until it doesn't work, and then it's highlighted. Like Mourinho is really in the papers when he loses because it's like this defensive approach is old school, like dinosaur. It doesn't keep up with the modern day football. So I think it's just highlighted more.
Fair. Yeah, I've just think I've just every article I've read is just like, or like when Southampton like lost 9-1. No, they have turned it around in fairness, but like if Sam Allardyce had lost that game 9-1 or 9-0 or whatever, he would have been sacked. And like every journal that was writing papers would have said, "Oh, right decision to get rid of him. Trezeguet clearly isn't behind him." But because he played this high pressing football that like all these journalists love, they defended him, and I don't know, just my opinion on it. But
In fairness, and I even said he should have been sacked. Not even after that game, it was another game. But apparently they had like a big team meeting and like he talked about why he wanted them to play this way. And now they're doing it and they're actually doing really well. Southampton are really good at the minute.
Yeah.
Well, 3 weeks ago or whenever the fuck it was.
yeah, just the trend I've seen, it just kind of annoys me that like there's only one way of playing football and we all have to stick to that. And it's like, well, no, that's what makes football fun. Everyone playing different ways.
yeah. On to our next section. Was a suggestion by our special guest today, Dave, where we're going to take a look at some overrated players. Is that what you'd say?
So
Thought we
basically,
already had the United section. Oh,
so basically, I've had this idea the last couple of days because I follow a lot of Arsenal fans on Twitter. And a lot of Twitter is basically celebrating the Invincibles, which, dead right to do. It was an awesome season. Or longing for Aaron Ramsey for some reason. As if Aaron Ramsey was like this, like Steven Gerrard, Frank Lampard, Scholes level type midfielder. There's not, maybe not you, Flynn, but there is.
It's about Scholes level, not Lampard.
There's a lot of like Arsenal fans that are like, oh man, miss this guy so much. And like they forget that he was like either injured all the time or just played really bad, or he was actually just a sub because he was never actually that good. So I had this idea of going through some teams, players that some fan bases love, but outside of that fan base, you just think this guy was rubbish. Why do you love him? So I have my suggestion for United, just to kick it off. And I think I told some of you guys earlier, but Ander Herrera, when he left United, bog average midfielder. For some strange reason, when he left, people thought he was like Roy Keane. United had like this tribute video for him the day he left United, and it was like cuts of like hard tackles he made and goals he scored. He scored like 3 goals in like 5 years.
Could have been a vine.
Yeah, like off the top of my head, I can think of like one good game he played against Chelsea when he played really well. But other than that, for like 5 years, he did nothing. But United fans seem to think he was like the Spanish Roy Keane. And it just annoys me when I see people praise him because he left United to go to PSG, like the worst football club in the world.
Yeah.
Where, guess what? He's injured all the time because he was never fit at United either.
Yeah.
And Herrera. Like, Fellaini was a better player than Herrera was, and that's not saying much.
Yeah.
Yeah, I always thought of him as bog average completely. And he even looks generic. Like, he looks like a default character. Like,
yeah, like a FIFA regen or something.
Yeah.
No,
I think his work rate was really the only thing about him, really, wasn't it? And I think that's probably why people liked him so much.
Because, yeah, maybe that United around that time just had so little character about it that someone actually trying maybe people liked, but I just never understood it, to be honest.
And he went to a lot of trouble to get him, didn't he?
Yeah, we waited like 2 years.
Wasn't there something where fake agents showed up or something?
I don't know about that, actually.
Something to do with like fake agents showed up to his office, I think, with contracts for Ander Herrera.
I don't remember that. I actually don't remember that. I believe it, though, because... Yeah, from Bilbao. It took like 2 years to sign him because Moyes wanted him, and Moyes couldn't sign any players because he was an idiot. But he's still a manager somehow. But yeah, that's my suggestion for United anyway.
Yeah. I'm not sure. Are we going to do it by team? I just have 3 random people over the past, I guess, like 30 years of football that I thought would be applicable here.
Yeah, sure.
But Finn, maybe do you want to go? Well, actually, you didn't have anyone, do you?
So players that other people think are good, but I think were overrated.
More like fan bases thought we can't win a game without this guy. This guy is incredible, but really, they're just average.
Post seeing how he's done so well since then, people sort of misremember Szczesny's time at Arsenal and think he's obviously great now. Fine. He was shit for a lot of his time at Arsenal. Really, really, really shit. And he also fucked up. He got caught smoking in the showers by Wenger, which is an image that I could do without. And I think this was after he had been like banned or cautioned for smoking by Wenger before, and he was smoking after he made a mistake that cost us a game, and he conceded a goal. So Wenger wanted to get rid of him, but no one wanted him, so he could only get him on loan to Roma, and he did okay at Roma. I'm pretty mad we only got like 10 million or something for him when he'd be worth like 40 or 50 million today. But it's the way it goes. I think, and Arsenal fans are like, oh, remember when we had this guy? Oh, what if we still had him? I wasn't sad to see him go at the time, especially since they signed Peter Cech as well. And I was like, yeah, that's fine, better. Fabianski, probably underrated in his time at Arsenal, and I wish we had kept him. But There you are.
Were you sad to see Ramsey go?
Yeah, well, going on a free, definitely. Going on a free was just shit. Having to let him, if you got any money for him, it would have been better. Uh, he was good. He was always injured, as you said. So, and he's always injured still at Juventus. So he plays like 2 games a season. I think he was very, very good for long periods of time. But he never quite got enough of a run going. His best run was like 5 or 6 years ago when he scored like 12 goals in a row. And
But
never
even at that,
recaptured
that was like a month.
yeah, well, it was a bit more, but he was great that season. Yeah, I wasn't heartbroken, to be honest. It's I just wish we hadn't let him go for free, and I wish we had replaced him with someone half decent, which we didn't. So
They were my suggestions anyway. So over to you, Kieran.
So I had 3. 2 are only really applicable now because I maybe misunderstood the topic with the third one. But one's going way back, right? And it only really came to my mind when I watched like some old Premier League highlights and like big games between Liverpool and United over the 90s and the noughties. Gary Neville.
Ooh.
I think that the United fans see him as a cult hero. Obviously, class of 92, one club man, no, played for England. But anytime I think back of Gary Neville as a player, anytime you see all of the like big game highlights, he's on his ass or he's falling over or he's getting skinned by Robbie Fowler.
he's on his
And,
arse.
and I just think that, he was always titled like the weak link in United's defences through the years, but he always kept pace.
I hated the way he used to try to play the hard man as well.
Yeah.
Wasn't there that time? Oh yeah, when that tunnel thing happened with Keane and Vieira, and they were shouting at each other and so on. You know that?
Yeah.
And then they go out for the handshakes. All the teams line up, and Gary Neville tries staring Vieira out of it. That was embarrassing. I thought it was like cringe.
Yeah.
Like
he has small man syndrome.
Vieira would pop him like a zit. Like, I mean, come on.
Do you know what's funny about? Do you know what's funny about that description? If you had left out Gary Neville and just explained that player, I would have guessed Ashley Young.
Yeah, I mean the same applies. I think it says something when you have to convert to another position halfway through your career. I guess he was getting a little bit older, but
I think that's that's actually fair that he is a bit overrated. That people think he was even when people are doing the 99 versus the current Liverpool team 11s, I was actually leaning towards Gary Neville. But when you actually think about it, no, like Trent Alexander-Arnold's a much better player than Gary Neville was.
yeah, and it really prompted me. It was funny you should have said it earlier because I was watching Gary Neville meets with a lot of former players and they go over their career and they watch the goals and stuff. It was that compilation of Fowler's goals against United, and every single time he just burst past Neville, and Neville just got angrier and angrier on the sofa. But yeah, I thought he was someone who a United fan will think is a cult hero, but I think he was pretty shite. The other one, more current now, Jordan Pickford.
Good shout.
Not a good player. He makes a fantastic save and then just throws the ball in his net or goes through his legs. But yet, it's probably going to be England's number one goalkeeper. A little bit the same as Paul Robinson, if you think back a few years ago as well.
Do you remember when Roy Keane said on Sky Sports a couple of weeks back that if Jordan Pickford wasn't English, no one would talk about him, and everyone in the Sky Sports studio had to look really awkward and didn't know what to say. But he was dead right. He was 100% right.
Yeah, I don't rate him at all. He's made lots of errors in an Everton team that should be doing far better than what they are. But
he might not be goalkeeper now for the Euros because there's another year for the likes of Henderson or something to get that spot.
Oh yeah, can you imagine being like someone who like Vardy, who was thinking about coming back from retirement to play in the Euros because of the form he's in, and it's just like Nah, you'll be 35 next year. Sorry.
Yeah.
we should-
And Kane
Yeah.
and Rashford will be back.
There's
yeah.
probably some players that are playing really well now that would be like, oh man, I'm definitely going to get on the team this year. And then like next year, they could just have a bad
Mustafi.
season and they're done.
Yeah.
Maybe for Germany, yeah, maybe, yeah.
There's probably a football player that had a career-ending injury in February, thinking that his career was over. But by the time football starts again, he's probably made a full recovery. You ever think of that?
Yeah, it's a fair
Like
point.
6-7 month injuries are actually okay now. But
Yeah.
yeah, funny. Spurs are laughing.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
fuck. Shit, I hadn't thought of that.
They could come back fully fit and really good. Maybe probably not, but they could.
Yeah. Honestly, if the season starts again, I think anything can happen. My third one was, well, it was going to be Trent Alexander-Arnold, but not because he's a rubbish player, but because he's a bad defender and he plays a defense position, I guess. But
Yeah.
not really applicable when you fully explained what the criteria was.
That's a fair point.
I have to give Witch's shout out beforehand. And his was Jordan Ibe. It's a little bit different because he's obviously not a highly rated player now, but when he was at Liverpool, he was like a big deal, without ever proving anything at all. A bit. This might sound shitty, but a bit like Brewster.
I was
Like
just,
there are big
just-
hopes for
I thought-
Brewster.
I thought you said Bruce Pierce for a second. He never proved it on the pitch.
No, but like Rio Brewster, there's like the story was they didn't sign a striker during the summer once Sturridge left because they believed Brewster would be the man, and any games he played in the cups and stuff, he did nothing, and then they shipped him out to Swansea, and I think he's banging in goals there. But.
At the start of the season, people compared Brewster to Rashford. No, I'm not saying Rashford is like an amazing world-class striker, but like to compare the two of them is fairly laughable.
No, he's a different level to Brewster, to be fair. I don't see Brewster really having a future at Liverpool, unfortunately, but that's my hot take. I have 5 overrated Liverpool players from the last 15 years. Less
Oh, let's go.
than the last
There's
15 years.
loads of Liverpool examples, isn't there?
This is... Some of these I don't even believe myself, but I think you guys might. So the first one is Martin Skrtel.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
He is looked back at as like scored a lot of goals, like was really solid, but honestly, looking back, he was kind of just, he wasn't even like a calamity. I don't remember him ever making a big howler like Lovren or something, but never really great either. Do you know what I mean?
No, I think so. That's a good point.
Just, yeah. The next one is Pepe Reina.
Ooh.
Once he left, or once he stopped playing for Liverpool when he was loaned out or whatever, for about 10 years, people were saying that they never filled his boots. And honestly, he made some fucking howlers. Like, he wasn't. I remember he couldn't catch a ball. Like, anytime there was a cross swung in, it was like, oh fuck! Like you'd be
Shaking
shitting your
syndrome.
pants. Yeah, and
Still-
but people look. Yeah,
Still
go
in
on.
the Premier League as well.
I know, yeah, and he is a good goalkeeper, but people look back at him as like amazing. You know, like Alisson is a different level to him altogether.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
So,
he can't stay
that's
fit,
one.
so it doesn't matter.
This one I don't know about. This is kind of based off how much he actually played, but I don't know if people think that much of him. Glenn Johnson.
Ooh, I liked him. I don't know about that.
Did you?
He was grand.
I thought he
He's
was
funny.
always pretty good.
Yeah, it was
He
just
scored-
Glenn Johnson, like.
He scored a goal of the season for Portsmouth. You should check that. That was unbelievable.
I
For
remember.
Liverpool, he was that kind of player. Like he'd do really, really well, get down the line, and then hit the first man or like over hit the cross.
So a bit like Alexander Arnold.
No, opposite end of that. So anyway, I don't know if he fits the criteria. My next two are probably the most controversial, and I just want to see what you think. Can't believe I'm saying it, but Torres.
Yes, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
He's loved by Liverpool fans, but he kind of played badly for Liverpool a lot. He played worse for Chelsea, but
he had 2 brilliant seasons, but that's it. He was injured so much. The season he left, he barely played, and the season before, he was out a lot as well. Like the season was it 09-010 when they came second, when they nearly won. Unbelievable. Like in his prime, unbelievable. But I see things of who would you prefer as your sole striker in their prime? Ronaldo, Drogba, Torres, or fucking Rooney. Like Torres is bottom of that pile.
I'd
Probably,
put Drogba
yeah.
bottom of the pile.
No.
Drogba
Definitely
was
not.
king.
I think Drogba's overrated, but fine. Never mind.
To be fair, they do say in the prime, but I think if you look at their whole careers between Torres and Drogba by a million miles.
I'd
miles.
agree.
I don't think so.
That's a perfect example. That's exactly what I was thinking.
Because I don't even believe the last one. I just wrote down Carragher. Now, the reason I say that is because I suppose when I was really getting into football was towards the end of his career. But like he, again, is kind of compared to like John Terry or something. Not very much, but I do see those comparisons. And he wasn't particularly good at anything. Like he wasn't a particularly good defender. He wasn't very tall. He wasn't very dominant. It was a bit like Roy Keane. But you know the way like people say Roy Keane didn't have the most ability, but it was his attitude. Carragher is a bit the same, but with less ability and with less attitude. Do you know what I mean?
And he spits on little girls.
Yeah.
So he's a bit like Henderson.
Henderson is better than Carragher.
No, that's definitely not true. No.
I agree with that.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know about
Kieran deciding vote.
I abstained from voting.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah. No, I think Carragher is a complete mediocrity. He's fine, but
yeah.
He was like a Liverpool lad. Well, Everton lad, really, wasn't he? So,
yeah.
But I mean, if he wasn't that, he'd be not even a Skirtle. Not even a Skirtle.
I actually have another shout for Ireland that I think people are going to look back on in like 10 years' time. People are going to love James McLean in 10 years' time.
Yeah.
I called it. Player of the decade.
Yeah, that was another thing I couldn't understand at all. James McLean, this guy whose right foot is solely just for standing on. I don't think he's ever kicked the football with his right foot.
Yeah, he's shocking. Yeah. He's shocking.
I just muted Dave so that we don't have to listen to him.
Nice.
I just realized I have this power. Sorry, Dave, I'll bring you back. Okay, you're back.
It's okay.
The power.
Yeah, that James McLean, no. He's going to be... Fans will look back at him in 10 years' time and think, man, remember the passion. Remember the tackles he used to hit. And remember that goal he scored to get us into the... It was against Wales. He scored a big goal.
Yeah.
But for the majority of it, he's been bog average.
But hang on, you said Randolph was the player of the decade.
Randolph has been really good for a long time. Wait a minute. We haven't had that many good players for the last decade.
No, it's tough to pick the best player when they're all shite, but it can't be a keeper that played 6 months.
He's been Ireland's goalkeeper for like 4 years.
That says something then.
Yeah. I think he's been really good. And it says more about how bad Ireland have been. But
Yeah. No, this is it. I think for a number of nations, you could say who's been their best player, and it's like that person. With Ireland, it's just been so... Like it's been like looking at the average championship player of the team of the year for the last 10 years. So
We are a Johnston Paint international team. Like,
Yeah. We'd struggle in the Iron Brew Cup for sure.
Yeah, which is why I think the Euros going back could actually help us. Because
Get
all
Troy
those young-
Parrott up and running.
yeah, Adam Ida, Jack Byrne, all these other guys.
they can't be worse than what we have now.
Exactly. Yeah.
McGoldrick.
Yeah. Yeah.
Was that everyone you covered, Hanley?
That's it.
Yeah. That was a good list of yeah. I think we're in agreement for most of that, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Good.
Makes a change.
Yeah, nice.
We're learning in self-isolation. We're becoming more tolerant of each other.
I'm just a calming influence that make all you guys like agree.
It's true, man. It's your Canadian chill.
Man, it's so chilled over here. It's like the vibe compared to Ireland. I can't believe I just said vibe. Sorry to anyone listening. But yeah, it's just completely different. Like people walking around with their dogs as if they're like babies and stuff. People are just so relaxed over here. It's crazy. Totally
Yeah.
different.
Yeah, people are a bit crazy over here now with this whole business going on, but I guess that gives them a little bit of an excuse. But yeah,
Is
people
Canada in lockdown?
No, it's still everyone is still advised to be like isolating.
Right.
But we aren't on lockdown. But like I went out to do like the laundry today, and there is generally no one on the streets. You'd see like the odd car, and there's a few homeless people, but no, people are generally pretty good. Better than like me going on Instagram like last weekend and seeing everyone at the beach and like mud wrestling and like,
Yeah.
and, like playing fucking hurling a football with each other. I just couldn't understand it. Did you see it like? Did it feel like that like at home that even was out in the-
I've been staying inside for like 2 weeks at least now. More. It's 3 more, yeah. So I haven't seen any of that. The last time I was really out was when me and Witch went to get fish and chips like 3 weeks ago. And that was it.
Oh, man.
And it
Shout
was
out
actually full then. So
yeah, I didn't
Yeah,
honestly haven't seen much. I mean, I've been inside, but at least people down my neck of the woods are taking it seriously for the most part. I think what we see online is a little bit exaggerated, but I'd say it's going on quite widespread.
What did you guys think of McGregor's like speech to the nation?
I couldn't watch them. I cringed out after like 5 seconds. I was
didn't
like,
watch it.
the last person I need to be taking advice from is Conor fucking Gregor on a fucking pandemic. And I looked at the time bar and it said 5 minutes. I couldn't believe he's going to sit there and try to talk to the country for 5 minutes, telling
But
us what to do.
The sad thing is more people fucking listened to him than they did to Taoiseach on Friday.
Astounding. Like the
Actually,
government's
Leo's
done-
benefiting from it.
Yeah, I think so too. I think he's done an alright job with all of this, considering. And I wouldn't be a fan of him and Fine Gael at all, but
Well, yeah, at situations like these, like in a crisis, unless you make a complete balls of it, people are going to rally around you.
CC, Donald Trump, and Boris Johnson.
Yeah, wasn't that fucking mad when Boris Johnson was like, "I'm still shaking hands. I went to a hospital where there was coronavirus people. I'm still shaking hands," and it's just like these fucking guys are responsible for our lives.
Yep.
Premier League years 2019, 2020 is going to be like lit. It just goes on about coronavirus.
We'll still be self-isolating by the time that fucking comes out as well, probably. But anyway.
Yeah.
Probably, yeah. But yeah, that was all my overrated player thoughts anyway.
Not very good. Well, that brings an end to the 8th edition of the Put 'em Under Pressure podcast. Thank you very much for joining us. I hope we brought some distraction in this testing time. We'll be back again in around a fortnight. You can listen to the podcast on Spotify if you search Put 'em Under Pressure podcast. You can follow our videos on YouTube, Put 'em Under Pressure podcast on YouTube, and on Facebook. You can give us a like and keep up to date with all of our updates by searching PUPcast. It's been a pleasure, guys. Dave, it's been great having you back.
Thanks for having me, guys. I loved
Any
it.
final thoughts?
No, keep doing it. I love listening to you guys over here. You're better than a lot of podcasts I listen to that talk about football, especially like the Canadian and American ones. So Keep up
Yeah.
the good work.
So you'll probably be on the next one.
Yeah. If you ever need someone to come in with some shit opinions, I'm always here.
Noted. What's even better is he doesn't charge a fee. So
Just friendship.
just friendship fee, yeah, which is infinite dollars.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks very much for listening. See you next time.
We'll put them under pressure.